There are many critical conversations about jobs, workers, and the economy happening in D.C., and both the executive and legislative branches have key roles to play. I am thrilled that we have Congresswoman Bonamici from Oregon with us today to bring the legislative branch perspective. Thank you, Congresswoman, for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I know it is certainly a busy time and an important time
Indeed.
on Capitol Hill right now. And conversations about the infrastructure package, about Build Back Better, appropriations conversations all happening. If you could just talk a bit about what excites you the most kind of as part of this process and some of the ideas that are being talked about regarding America's workers.
Happy to. There's a lot that excites me about the combination of the infrastructure bill and Build Back Better. Now, my passion is really education and having a path for everyone, regardless of what career they choose. And there is so much in this combination of legislation, the infrastructure bill with the roads, the bridges, the EV charging stations, the jobs that will be created by the need for all of the infrastructure, but also in Build Back Better, which is really going to make a difference in people's lives and kind of level the playing field with the economic opportunity, from childcare and pre-K to great workforce programs that are going to be there for people to skill up and get all those great jobs that we'll have, not only in the transportation infrastructure, but also transitioning to a clean energy economy and in the care workforce. So there's a tremendous amount of potential.
Absolutely. I love those themes of equaling the playing field, pathways for all, like those are really at the heart of what we do at Jobs for the Future. And so within Build Back Better, how do you kind of see those provisions really helping workers as the nation rebuilds? Like, how do you think about, reskilling and other efforts as part of that?
Right. In the short term, there are some great programs, both through the Department of Labor, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act programs, our great job training program, Job Corps, there's a Climate Conservation Corps. There's a lot of provisions in there that will help people get good jobs, and in the care economy as well, and skill up to do the jobs that will be there. And then in the long term, there are great provisions for education, starting really early with pre-K, universal pre-K, and then of course in our K-12 system with career and technical education, and with more affordable higher education, and just having those paths. I'm a big supporter. I went to community college, so there's a great industry partnership program where community colleges can partner with businesses in the area and make sure that they're offering skills there for the demand in that local area. So when we see kids getting a good start in life, and then in our K-12 system, making sure that they have those hands-on learning opportunities that will help them choose a path.
And with registered apprenticeship, some of the work that we're doing at JFF focus on that is to really help expand diversity, equity, inclusion within registered apprenticeship programs.
Absolutely. And making sure that those registered apprenticeships are there for people historically left behind, women, people of color. I remember sitting around a big table with several people who had gone through pre-apprenticeship programs and apprenticeship programs. And a woman named Lacey said, "This made such a difference in my life. Now I can support my family." And so really opening up those opportunities. I give a shout out to Oregon tradeswomen. We have a higher percentage of women in the trades in Oregon because we have this great organization that really does make those opportunities available. We need to replicate that across the country because these are good jobs. And as we're building this infrastructure and as we are transitioning to a clean energy economy, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for good jobs. We need to have those programs there to skill people up. And make sure that they have a good job in their community, and they have the skills and a path to get them.
What advice do you have for the folks in our audience who are working at the state and local level? How can they kind of support this effort? How can they be prepared, to really successfully implement, the provisions of these pieces of legislation and ensure that we're using these federal funds to drive equity and to drive high quality outcomes across the board.
Certainly staying in touch with their representatives and senators and any agencies that are involved. We're trying to make sure as we craft the legislation that the dollars will go directly to their intended jurisdiction to get the funding out as quickly as possible and as equitably as possible. So we're trying to build that in as much as possible and to build back better so that those opportunities will be there. And of course there'll be some scaling up, and particularly in places like childcare and pre-K. We're going to be working on making sure that we have affordable childcare, which has been a huge challenge to parents who are working outside the home for quite some time, exacerbated by the pandemic, of course.
Yes.
But we will have the ability to help not only get more people into the field, more providers into the field, but also make sure they can make a living wage.
Exactly.
I've had childcare providers say it's so hard to keep people working here because they can go across the street to a fast food restaurant and make more money, even though they're doing critical work of taking care of our nation's children. So it's important to have this investment. There's no solution to that. You can't raise the tuition because it's already expensive, but we need to make sure that the people doing this critical work are compensated for the value of the work that they're doing in the care economy.
I agree, and I think that the facet approach is really key, right? So kind of making those high quality services accessible, but also ensuring that the workforce is being taken care of and that these are quality jobs is key as well. So that's what I really like about the approach that's being debated. And I know last year you proposed a bill that focused on reskilling for workers in energy-related fields. And I know you've been a big supporter of kind of sector strategies in general. So maybe you could tell us a bit about that.
Sure. Well, I'm the granddaughter of a coal miner. My grandfather, who immigrated from Italy, was a stonemason in Italy and came to the United States and became a coal miner. And I know that when we transition away from fossil fuels to a clean energy economy, the communities have not been affected equally. There's been a disparate impact on oftentimes communities of color, low-income communities, urban communities, because of historic redlining, for example. So we need to make sure that we are targeting the industries and the areas where they've been hardest hit and make sure that we have not only the jobs there, but the path to get those jobs for the hardest hit communities. So if we pass the funding for the infrastructure, but we don't have the people to do the work, we're not going to get the infrastructure built. So that is a really key piece of it as well, and that's why I've been advocating for robust funding for workforce as we build back better, and we'll continue to do so.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Congresswoman, for being with us today. Really appreciate you joining us.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your ongoing support of the American worker.